The House will come to order. Reports from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Pepin from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bills to be placed on the calendar for the day for Thursday, May 17, 2018, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bills: Senate File Number 3326, House File Number 4437, and Senate File Numbers 3019 and 3168.
Calendar for the day. The first calendar on the bill for the day is Senate File 2863. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 2863, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to public safety, the first engrossment.
Call upon the author of the bill from Wright, Representative O'Neill, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. And first, I want to give a thank you to Representative Lesh, who worked with me on this bill, and we worked collaboratively on many things. And it's always good to work across the aisle on such important issues as this one. Members, this issue is about sexual assault kits. And a couple years back, the legislature asked for a study. And in that study, we discovered that there were 3,400 rape kits that had been untested in the state of Minnesota. So since that time, a large working group has been put together. It's funded by the Office of Justice and put together by MNCASA, Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Assault. It included all of the stakeholders, including hospitals, law enforcement, MNCASA, and other advocacy groups, women that had been sexually assaulted themselves, and also SANE nurses, so the nurses that actually do the rape kits. And members, this was a collaboration, and we actually have more bills coming in the future, but this is the first piece of many that will be rolling out. And what this bill does is it is prospective. It deals with what we're going to be doing in the future with all of the rape kits. And after a rape kit is done and the hospital sends notice to law enforcement, after 10 days, law enforcement must pick it up. Then after it's picked up and it's in the custody of law enforcement, they have 60 days to send it to the BCA. If they don't send it to the BCA because it doesn't have evidentiary value, then they have to document why they're not sending it to the BCA. And another part that I am particularly excited about is that those women or men or girls or boys, because it's all the entire spectrum of people that are affected by this, they or their advocate can contact law enforcement and find out where their kit is. Has their kit been submitted, and has there been a DNA match? I'm going to tell you a story in a minute to explain why that is so incredibly important. There is one issue that we were not able to deal with, and those are kits that have not been authorized by that victim to go to law enforcement and go through the process, and those are restricted kits. We will be dealing with that in the next biennium, and also we're working on a federal grant to deal with all of those as well. Let me tell you a story about Hannah. I was introduced to Hannah a few months back. She's now she's 16. When this incident happened, she was 13. You're a 16-year-old daughter of a good friend of mine from high school. She currently lives in Wisconsin. And she lost her mother when she was about 7. On the anniversary of on her mother's birthday, it was New Year's Eve. She was home, she was alone, she was bored, she was grieving. And she reached out to someone she thought she knew on Facebook. Now, she was 13 years old at the time. She began this conversation across Facebook, and the man said he was 19, he was actually 22. She said she was 15, she was actually 13. They go back and forth for some time, and he says, yeah, I'll pick you up. So he comes from Maplewood and goes all the way to Wisconsin and picks her up. And you can see this on the Facebook chat. He picks her up, and then on his way back to his house, he says, hey, can we pick up another person? And she says, well, it's your car, you can pick up whoever you want. So he does. He picks up another male, 22 years old. Those two men take her to the first man's house, give her marijuana, give her alcohol, and by the way, they spike the alcohol. Now, mind you, she's 13 years old. Begin groping her, demanding sex of her, saying, if you don't do this, we're going to throw you outside. You don't know where you are. It's freezing outside. It's December 31st, threatening her. She says, no, 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 I don't want any of this. Well, they continue and they continue until she actually begins to pass out from all the things that they had given her. And while she's in and out of consciousness, they repeatedly rape her for an hour, all the while threatening her. She begs them, please, please, allow my dad to come pick me up. They said, no way, no how, we don't want him to know this address. But miraculously in the morning, when the sun came up, the first man that picked her up did bring her home. She was absolutely, utterly traumatized. It took her 2 days to even tell her dad what had happened. He immediately takes her to the hospital. But of course, the hospital wants to do a SANE kit, a rape kit test. She's so traumatized, she says, no, I can't do that, I can't do that. In those 2 days, these two men began contacting her and said, if our names are uttered from your mouth, we're going to kill you, we're going to kill your dad, and we're going to kill your 2 little brothers. And we're gangbangers and we can do it. So when the police came to take her statement, she lied about the description because she was in fear for her life and everyone else's lives. Now, even though that kit wasn't done, there was still DNA on her clothing. The clothing was taken by the investigator, the clothing went to the BCA. What do you know? There's a match. And it matches the person that had been contacting her on Facebook, who was well known to the law enforcement at the time. Now, fast forward to today. So she was 13, she's now 16. She's in northern Minnesota at a treatment center because she's been so traumatized. Remember, her mother passed away 7 years before this incident happened. Her father has been texting me all morning, furious, because even though there's DNA, even though they have a Facebook conversation, they know who it is, the county in which it happened refuses to prosecute. You want to know why? Because the county attorney said, well, I'm not positive I can win the case, even though there's DNA and there's circumstantial evidence and on and on and on. But he refuses to prosecute. And the father is absolutely beside himself, and the daughter is beside herself. But we have so much more work to be done. He also said that, well, if we brought it to trial, then they would have to bring up her past. Well, I just want to educate the body. We don't victim blame. It's irrelevant. We don't blame the victim. Was it her fault that she got in a car? Well, she was 13, she was coerced. We don't victim blame. There's so much more work to be done. This is one piece. I ask for your support today. There's so much more education to be done. You also have to understand that when a victim tells her story, she's not going to tell you the entire story, or he's not going to tell you the entire story on day 1 or day 2. It takes time. It's the trauma of the experience. That also was lost on this particular prosecutor and county attorney. So we have so much more education to do. This is one piece, members. This is one little thing that we can do to stand up for victims today. Victims like Hannah, who still, to this day, 3 years later, and she probably will never get justice. But we as a legislature need to stand and say, we will do everything we can to offer justice to those that have been harmed, just like Hannah today. I ask you for your support.
There are no amendments to the desk. The clerk will give a bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 2863.
Third reading. Member from Hennepin, Representative Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Members, I support this proposal. Under Minnesota law, we believe that rape victims have self-determination, and we allow them to get the rape kit done right away, and then they get to decide whether or not they want that kit to be tested, whether or not they want to participate in the prosecution. They are in the place to make those decisions. But we want those rape kits to be done so that ultimately at the end of the day, there's a 3-year statute of limitations, and we want to have the opportunity to test those kits in the event they want those kids to be tested. Members, this sets up the proper procedures for that to happen and for them to have information about whether or not their kids have been tested. This working group worked very, very hard to put in place these procedures, and I encourage you to support them.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Thank you. The clerk will close the roll. Allen votes aye. There being 121 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 2809. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 2809, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to the Metropolitan Council, the first engrossment.
Call upon the author of the bill from Scott, Representative Albright, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we've heard this bill a number of times. This deals with the governance structure for the Met Council. What it does in a nutshell is to reform how members are selected, puts them on staggered terms, and gives an opportunity for locally elected community leaders to have a voice in how the monies that dedicated to their areas are spent. I would encourage a green vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Albright moves to amend Senate File number 2809, the first engrossment as follows. Delete everything after the enacting clause and insert the following language of House File 3273, the second engrossment. The amendment is coded DEA 3273.
Member from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, this is the House file language we're inserting over the top of the Senate file.
Discussion to the amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments to the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 2809, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I think there's a broad consensus in the body that there should be governance reform of the Metropolitan Council. The last time there was a change to the Met Council structure was in 1993. I have introduced and forwarded a number of proposals. I prefer that the Met Council be elected directly. And the unfortunate part of this bill is that we do have some elected officials now joining the body, but unfortunately it's heavily weighted towards county commissioners, and county commissioners from 4 counties have supported this proposal, but 3 counties, including the most populous in the metropolitan area, have not weighed in support of this: Hennepin, Ramsey, and Washington. So a direct election approach would, I think, ensure much more accountability than this proposal. It would maintain the council at its current 17-member field. This increases the Met Council, I believe, to 28 members. So we have kind of an expansion of government happening here. Again, I think there's a possible conflict of interest when you have local elected officials on a body that in fact has a lot to do with regulating local government. So for those reasons, I oppose this bill. I hope that in the future we can work together on developing a proposal to directly elect the Met Council. I understand that there are some concerns about campaign finance issues and big money getting involved in another election. I share those concerns, and if we do go towards a direct election approach, then we should have a campaign finance system similar to what governs us here in the legislature. But that's hopefully a future bill that we can work on together. But at this point, I strongly prefer direct election of the Met Council as a needed reform rather than this approach. So I'll be voting no, members.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Pryor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also would like to speak out in opposition to this bill. It was not one that I was inclined to support before, but then today I got an email from the mayor of my city, Minnetonka, saying that he and the council are in opposition, that he is in opposition. And, you know, I think the point that is important to note here is that he is one of those elected officials that could be on the board. And he understands two things. One, it would be a conflict for him to try to serve as mayor of Minnetonka and as a member of the Met Council, a voting member of the Met Council. He understands that's a conflict. The other thing he understands is that he doesn't have time. You know, he's got a job, he's got a family, and someone to have both of these positions really is not feasible. So the kind of person that you could have on the Met Council that's elected to another position is basically, you know, maybe someone that retired. You know, so someone that doesn't have to do another job, someone that doesn't have a family. So it would be very limiting, someone that can serve in both of these roles. So I think that he makes really good points and common sense points, and I think that we as members can understand the rationality and would vote no. Thank you.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Pryor stole some of my thunder on that. She made some very good points about the potential for conflict there. I would just expand on that a little bit. Now, the Met Council, you know, a lot of what we notice that they do relates to transit, but they do a lot of other things that don't generate as much attention. And one of those very important jobs that they fulfill that requires regional governance relates to sewer infrastructure for the metropolitan region. And, you know, I was on the city council in Golden Valley for 9 years prior to taking this job, and the Met Council passed a provision requiring us to address the issue of inflow and infiltration. And it is an important environmental issue that we did need to address. But, you know, the way I might have voted on that if I were a city council member from my city also serving on the Met Council might have been very different. I don't actually know how I would have. I can't really imagine trying to balance the needs of a city I've been elected to represent with the needs of a metropolitan region that also has issues that it has to deal with. So, you know, having a direct election is one thing, but having people try to fill two roles is one thing. I'd actually say it does make sense to have it be an appointed body by the governor. It gives some level of insurance there against political pressures. You know, I do think you can look at reforms like staggered terms for Metropolitan Council members so one governor doesn't have control over the whole body. But I feel like this puts people who will serve on the Metropolitan Council in a very difficult position, and I will be voting no.
Member from Dakota, Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I also rise in opposition to this bill. And I don't rise in opposition to the reform of the Met Council. I don't rise in opposition to changing the way we do regional governance. As somebody said earlier, this system has been put in place back in the early 1990s, and it is time to do changes and updates. Our metropolitan areas have changed, and the face of my own community has changed since 1992, and so certainly I am not opposed to smart and reasonable reforms. However, this bill does not give us that, I'm sorry to say. And I do want to draw your attention, I did have passed out a letter from Metro Cities, the Association of Metropolitan Municipalities. Say it 10 times fast. And my city council member, Gary Hansen, is currently the president of Metro Cities. And he has been following this closely, advising me closely. I was at a meeting before session started of Dakota County local elected officials. It was the MLC meeting. We were there to talk about local issues and trying to find out what was on people's mind. I innocently asked, what do you think of the Met Council proposal to put city elected officials on the Met Council board? And boy, did I get an earful. And I didn't just get an earful from my city elected officials. I got an earful from cities across Dakota County. Our Dakota County elected officials, for those of us who represent Dakota County, have a lot of concern about this proposal. Concerns about parochialism. What does it mean to be an elected official for a particular city and have to dually represent multiple cities in your region? How easy is that to do? Do these folks have integrity? You bet. Do they work hard? You bet. But parochialism is a real concern. And I could see being real enthusiastic about making sure Egan got appointed to the Met Council because I live in Egan. And I love the way we do things in Egan, and I think the Egan way is a great way. But that's not the way for every community. That's why we have local elected officials. And keep in mind, these local elected officials have a huge influence on us, and our citizens, and on the constituents that they serve. That's as close as you are to your constituents when you're on a local elected official. And the fact that they're raising concerns should make us feel concerned. It should make us stop and listen. Instead, when we raise the question of parochialism, the answer we get back in committee is, it's not a big deal. They can handle it. Don't worry about it. That's not good public policy making. We also have had concerns raised about the ability of local elected officials to hold this dual role. Questions about conflicts of interest. Questions about the demands on what is not a paid job. There are often, stipends, certainly not. Nobody's getting rich being a mayor, a local mayor, or a local city council member. These folks are serving their communities, and very often they're working another full-time job. They're serving on other committees. They might be on the TAB board. They might be, as my city council member, president of Metro Cities. They might be serving on the League of Minnesota Cities board. They're doing a lot of additional work to serve our constituents. And yet we're going to add one more duty to them, not other duties as assigned. Duties as assigned by the legislature. I don't like that. I don't like telling my local elected officials how to govern. But here we are doing just that. And that concern, rather than being met with thoughtfulness, rather than people saying, how can we address the concerns that our local elected officials are raising, I heard in committee, they're just being lazy. They just don't want to work that hard. Now, I don't know about your city, but I can tell you, every event I'm in my city, my local elected officials are there. My local elected officials are making sure that they are connecting with other local elected officials to find out the best way to serve their community. My local elected officials are meeting with our firefighters and our police officers to make sure that we are serving our community the best we can. My local elected officials are working hard. And so to have that concern dismissed is simply unfair. And it's one more piece of evidence that this bill is not the right way to go. You can't just say, don't worry about it, and hope that it makes good public policy. And finally, there are concerns about the dissolution of the TAB board. This is a place where local elected officials do come together and advise the Metropolitan Council on how federal funds are spent. Now, when it comes to connecting communities through roads and bridges and trails and whatever it might be, we have to make sure that we're talking to one another, right? The roads in my district don't stop at my border. They go right on through into Inver Grove. They go up to Mendota Heights. They go over to Burnsville. They go down to Apple Valley. They don't stop. Lots of our infrastructure needs to be managed regionally. And the TAB board has been in existence since the 1970s. And there's been very good evidence that this board has functioned effectively, and that there are good regional decisions being made. And so our city elected officials who function through the TAB board have raised concerns that they don't want to see this eliminated as a venue for them to come together to do regional planning. But that concern is once again met with no big deal. And this bill is not the only option for Met Council reform. There are things that we agree on across the aisle. We could be discussing a bill today that could have broad bipartisan support, that we could put in front of the governor and come together and say, Governor, this is the right way for us to move forward with the Met Council. And there's things we agree on, like staggered terms. There's smart ways to make the Met Council more connected to our local governments. And there is a bill that I signed on to that does just that, which make sure that our local elected officials have a bigger say on who represents them on the Met Council. That's just one alternative. We didn't really even get to talk about it as a possible alternative. These things that we could come together and agree on. This bill that could really get signed into law. We didn't even take a swipe at it. We didn't even try. And that's disappointing. Instead, we have a bill in front of us that the local elected officials in my district and the neighboring districts in my county say can't work, won't work. Fix it is what we're seeing today. That is simply unfair. Our local elected officials deserve better. When they come to the legislature with their concerns and to hear our voices, and to hear their voices, we should be listening. We should be responsive to them. But we're not. And counties are being put up as saying, well, counties support this county supports that county supports it. Dig a little deeper. See how many cities in Dakota County passed a resolution supporting this change to the Met Council. It's a tiny, tiny number of cities. Dig a little deeper. Ask tougher questions. Ask if we're really serving the best interests of our local governments in order to have their voices heard. Please vote no on this bill. Come back together and let's do this in a smart, reasonable, bipartisan way. Thanks.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Joachim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to Senate File 2809. It has Representative Albright's language, House language in it. Before you, of course, is a letter from the Citizens League in opposition to this language. They're the watchdogs for us on the Met Council. And they're joined by Metro Cities in opposition to this bill. And the reasons are plenty. Before you, there's a bill that doesn't really address any of the concerns many of us do have about the need for Met Council reform. And I agree that reform is needed. That's why I co-authored a bill to do just that, to start that process, to do staggered terms, to get more elected officials onto the nominating committee, and to have some accountability there in the process. That reform may have actually gotten signed this year. It might have actually become law. But it's not before you today. This is a bill that's before you today that is veto bait, and we all know that. It's not helpful reform. Now you're going to hear about the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, MPOs, the need for transparent representation and accountability, and an elected board versus an appointed board. Why do I know this? I've listened to this bill in many committees. I heard the arguments against it in this building, or for it in this building. But I want to talk to you today about all the voices outside this building that are doing this work that are in opposition to this bill. This approach, and I've heard from many, trust me, this approach does not really address any of the issues that you may have. It doesn't work. In fact, it makes matters worse. First of all, the Met Council existed long before the federal government required municipal planning organization structure, the MPOs. And it was a structure created so that a region could continue to receive federal transportation funds. Because of this, the Met Council has been grandfathered in and deemed worthy over multiple administrations to receive those funds. That's a fact. Second, the Met Council is so much more than transportation. Half of its function is dealing with wastewater in our region. It manages our regional parks, it helps facilitate the planning process for our metro cities, and much, much more. And it has all these tasks because we've assigned them to them. We assigned these tasks to the Met Council to do. It was in our infinite wisdom, folks, so that's a discussion we could be having, but not with this bill. That's not what this bill does. The legislature realized that there are some functions of public service that are much better provided and handled at a regional level. Take the wastewater systems. I know people just love to talk about that after lunch, but we all know how expensive those are. We know because we keep trying to find the money to build them all over Minnesota, all over greater Minnesota. And the Met Council deals with the economies of scale in this area and in many other areas and manages them efficiently and effectively. That's what a regional government does. This bill also, as it's been said, shifts the balance of power on the council away from proportional representation. Currently, the Met Council districts are set by population, just like our legislative seats. But this bill throws that out the window. For example, it gives Carver County, a population of roughly 98,000 people, the same representation on the Met Council as Hennepin County, that has 1.2 million. 98,000, 1.2 million. And I'm sorry, I know you tried. Tossing those 2 extra seats of representation to Hennepin County just doesn't fix the imbalance that's in this bill, and it doesn't fix it for Anoka, Dakota, Ramsey, Scott, and Washington that all have larger populations than Carver County. This bill completely disregards the democracy of proportional representation. And that alone should cause you pause and garner a no vote. Now, here's the most objectionable part of this bill for me. This bill places current local electeds onto a regional body when way more than a majority of those local officials have said that will not work. This is not compatible with their city official duties. And merely putting language in the bill to say that it's compatible doesn't make it so. In fact, I've heard from the mayors of the cities I represent, as well as council members from across the region saying that they do not want to be placed in this position. A position that would compromise their ethics and their oaths. The bill would ask them to choose between representing the citizens who elected them to their city councils and a board they would be appointed to. The folks we're talking about here are in all of our communities. Listen to them. They raised their hands and took an oath. They took an oath to represent their city. I know, I've taken that oath. Please don't put them in this position. Let me tell you a little secret too. Just because you put current elected officials on the Met Council doesn't mean the Met Council is then an elected body. If you want an elected Met Council, then you should do just that. Actually elect individuals to the Met Council, not this crazy hybrid approach. And that's what we have before us, a mashup of ideas that don't fit together. What we really need to do is make sure that we're figuring out the best way to provide wastewater, transit, parks, and planning in the area of our state that has the most dense population. This bill does not do that. This bill rips apart the one regional planning organization that we have and leaves us with a hybrid that will not function. We can do much better than this. Minnesota deserves much better than this. The Metro region deserves much better than this. Let's just send this back to the drawing board and vote no. Thank you.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Carlson L.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, members, would Representative Albright yield to a question?
He will yield. Representative Carlson.
My question is, Representative Albright, you've increased the size of the council to 28 from the current 17, and would you be willing to again share with the body how you arrived at a larger council? And then after your answer, I've got a comment.
Member from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Representative Carlson. And to your question, right now, as it stands, There is districts that have boundaries within the 7-county area. We're respecting those, but we are recognizing that more folks on the council from both county commissioners as well as representatives from the various agencies make for a better discussion and for a better product as they move forward, representing both wastewater, housing, and the other responsibilities that are incumbent upon the Met Council.
Representative Carlson.
And Mr. Speaker, members, I happen to concur with some of the comments that were made earlier. Some time ago, I don't know if you recall, you and I had a discussion about the council, I think before a committee meeting started, and I think I shared with you that I wasn't necessarily opposed to some changes or reform, but said that historically, after looking at the pros and cons of an elected council, and there's arguments on both sides of that as well, I had come down in favor of an elected council. But where I was headed when I asked the question about how you arrived at the size of the council, I remember a number of years ago we had a paper presented that was done at the University of Minnesota on governing boards. And the paper was broader than simply the size of a governing board, but part of the paper was devoted to that question. And they said if you were a governing board, I'm talking now about major boards, below 12, that was created a set of problems. And if you went above, and I'm trying to recall the exact number, it was either 16 or 18, you had another set of problems. And so the paper said that the optimal size for a governing board, a major board, was somewhere between 12 and I'll pick the number now and say 18. The council currently is at 17, which that presentation, the author of that would have argued was on the upper end of the optimal size. And so when we go to 28, I just thought I would share that with the body because it was a fairly extensive research project at the time. And we were looking at a number of governing boards and what the most effective size would be. We weren't looking necessarily at the Metropolitan Council, but at governing boards generally. So thank you.
The author of the bill from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be brief. My first comment is to thank Representative Hornstein. Representative Hornstein and I share a deep and abiding passion for a number of things. One is for shedding a bright light where accountability needs to be found. And so, Representative Hornstein, I know that you too have some very serious and financial concerns about the effects it has on people in your district, and we've shared those. I've heard a lot in the comments made by members with regard to transparency, conflict of interest, time, the list goes on. But people, we are faced with the reality that our MPO is out of conformity with the federal statute. Now you can look on the other side and say, oh, we'll just get another exemption. You don't. You don't have another time exemption. It's in the file. We're not changing anything about the responsibilities for the Met Council. All we're doing is changing who they are accountable to. The Met Council right now, as an agency, if it were, has levying authority and decides where $3-some-odd billion gets spent on an annual basis. And they're accountable to a constituency of 1. You want to talk about elected officials? Representative Ornstein and I have had conference calls with the only elected board of an MPO in Oregon. It doesn't work. You want to talk about bringing money into an election process? They're talking about $400,000 to $600,000 for one seat. You want to make it political? Go that route. There are 402 MPOs in the nation. We are the only one that does not conform. The Citizens League was actually created to respond to the concerns of people that weren't feeling they were being addressed with their concerns before the Met Council. So there's that. The tab was created to avoid the Met Council being conformity with what was dictated from the federals. Members, this is a governance issue that is long past due. My father-in-law was one of the co-authors when this was established 40 years ago. We've had countless conversations about this over Easter, Thanksgiving, on fishing trips where I couldn't avoid the subject. He's tired of us not doing anything. And the people that I talk to are tired of this body not doing anything, and they're tired of the governor, and there have been a few that haven't had a shot at reforming this on both sides of the aisle. I think it's time that this gets done. I urge a green vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 71 ayes and 52 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 3367. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 3367, number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to public health, the second engrossment.
Call upon the author of the bill from Anoka, Representative Whelan. Representative Whelan, is this, do you wish to introduce this amendment at this time? The author's amendment?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Whelan moves to amend Senate File number 3367, the second engrossment as follows. Delete everything after enacting clause and insert the following language of House File number 3287, the second engrossment. The amendment is coded DEA 3287.
Call upon the author of the amendment from Anoka, Representative Whelan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members. The DE is inserting the House language of the bill, and just as a brief background, the overall intent of this bill is to ensure that all hotel workers are trained to recognize the signs of sex trafficking. The idea for this bill came to me over the interim. I was asked to speak at an event called Running for Justice, which raises money to give to organizations that combat sex trafficking. I realized I didn't know a whole lot about what Minnesota has done, so I was researching and found that while Minnesota is a leader in this area with our safe harbor laws and others, there is still some things we could do to improve. So I worked a lot with nonpartisan staff. In fact, owe a huge debt of gratitude to Ben Johnson and others that worked with me on this. But the idea that came to the top was a bill from Connecticut It's the only other state in the country that does this, that requires their hotels to train employees to recognize the signs of sex trafficking. And you should have on your desk, members, a letter from Ramsey County Attorney John Choi and the Anoka County Sheriff's Office, or that should be being passed around, that shows their support. Also in committee, we had support from many advocates, people that are in law enforcement, people that are working in the industry to provide shelter to victims, and I've just been humbled and awed at the amount of support, including from the lodging industry, which was great to see. Members, we know that a lot of hotels are doing this training voluntarily because it is a huge issue. And I'm just going to quote something that was from an article a few years ago. Dan McElroy from the Minnesota Lodging Association, which represents 330 hotels in our state, said the hospitality industry wants to prevent crimes from taking place in their establishments, and notes that, quote, "Our members are unhappy. They're irate at any crime that takes place in a hotel. But crimes involving kids, as one of my members said, it makes her blood boil. One of my members said, I just can't imagine having one of my future guests sleeping in a bed where a little girl was abused." Members, I think this bill is needed. I think this bill will help people in our state get set free from the bonds of sex trafficking, and so I ask for your support.
All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. There's an amendment at the desk. Representative Whelan offers the following amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
Whelan moves to amend Senate File Number 3367, the second Grossman as amended. The amendment is coded A4.
Call upon the member author of the amendment from Anoka, Representative Whelan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, the amendment is mostly technical. It takes some of the language that was in the Senate. It also adds a provision that says that to the extent possible, we would like the department to use existing training modules. And we know that, as I had said, a lot of hotels are doing this training. And in the bill, we do have the Department of Health consult with the State Lodging Association on the training. So, members, I'd ask for your support.
All those in favor of the A4 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. Representative Munson offers the following amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
Munson moves to amend Senate File Number 3367, the second Grossman as amended. The amendment is coded A2.
Call upon the author of the amendment from Blue Earth, Representative Munson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This amendment tries to focus our education of employees at hotels and motels to be those that have direct contact with guests or the guests' rooms, who would be most likely to identify when sex trafficking is taking place. This amendment would change the original language of the bill to focus to exempt from training minors. So this is children that work in family-run motels, also kids that are out mowing the lawn at motels, and then would also exempt employees who work in the restaurants that are attached to hotels or who work for the catering services of the hotel, who may not be on site, who would not have direct contact with the guest rooms. And then as number 3 on this amendment would basically just go further to say anybody who does not have direct contact with either guests or guest rooms. This also offers immunity to the hotel operator or the person working the front desk if they should call the police and on someone that they believe is sex trafficking when it turns out they aren't. So it would prevent, it would give them civil immunity from lawsuits from calling on people that they shouldn't be. And then also, if they are trained on it and fail to see a sign, provides civil immunity from being sued by someone because they didn't call the police. This amendment also offers, prevents the Department of Human Services from revoking the license of a hotel just for the failure to train one employee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll answer any questions people have.
There's an amendment to the amendment. The clerk will report the amendment to the amendment.
Whelan moves to amend the Munson amendment to Senate File Number 3367, the second Grossman as amended. The amendment to the amendment is coded A7.
Call upon the author of the amendment to the amendment from Anoka, Representative Whelan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Munson, for your work on this and for the ideas you brought forward. As we had talked, I think some of the ideas in your amendment are good, but I would like to just note a few things. So in my amendment to your amendment that I think will make it better, we are going to just in the amendment to the amendment say that we do want minors, if they are cleaning guest rooms, so if you're 16 and you're cleaning a guest room, we do want you to get this training because you're going to be in that arena. And I think that if you're mature enough to be cleaning the room, you should be mature enough to get the training. Also, on the liability piece, I just will note that the bill isn't changing our liability laws, and so we're just going to make an edit to that to say that the first part, if you report in good faith, no liability. The second part, our current laws actually are really strong in that already, so I don't think that second part is needed. And then on the on the license revocation, I would just note that the Department of Health, who licenses and regulates these hotels, they go in every 12 to 24 months, already have a really strong process in place. And so they would only be revoking a license in extreme cases. And I think that it's a tool that we should allow them to still have. The first step, though, is not going to be that revocation of a license. So if you haven't trained your employees, the first thing that'll happen is you'll get a 30-day notice saying you have 30 days to comply. A few other steps would ensue. And so it wouldn't be the case that would happen right away. And I think for purposes of just allowing that tool to remain in place, I think that it's good to have the department keep that. So members, I'd ask your support on the amendment to the amendment.
Discussion on the amendment to the amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The amendment to the amendment is adopted. Members, we're on the underlying Munson amendment as amended. Discussion. Member from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As members, I think, are aware, I have a background in this area. I'll talk a little more at third reading, but especially with the clarification provided by Representative Whelan, I think that the Munson amendment makes sense, and I would support its passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Discussion. All those in favor of the amendment as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments of the desk. The clerk will give a bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3367, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. Discussion to the bill. Member from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, as I noted and as said previously, I served for a couple years as the statewide director of training and protocol development for Safe Harbor, which is Minnesota's system to address sexual exploitation and sex trafficking, especially of kids. And actually, we had in Ramsey County developed the first training program for hotel staff, working in collaboration with Minnesota Lodging, who are now supportive of this bill that's been advanced by Representative Whelan. I was excited to see in committee that actually the same content we developed at that time has actually continued to be in the training materials. It's a little bit spiffier, different graphic design, but otherwise being used. This is a really good thing, members, and want to make sure the members of the public are aware of this as well. It is very often the case that the trafficking and exploitation are going on in hotels. I can think of a number of cases where the staff actually thought that something suspicious was going on, but didn't quite have enough of a sense to feel comfortable saying something. Just things didn't seem quite right, but they weren't able to put the pieces together. And then can certainly think of a case, a 911 call that I've played hundreds of times all over the state in trainings, where the hotel staff did in fact figure out what was going on. So this is a good thing. And Minnesota really is becoming a leader in this area, has been broadly in addressing this issue, but certainly in having our lodging staff participate in it. And I'm grateful to the hospitality industry for partnering on this as well, and Representative Whelan. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Candy Ojai, Representative Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I too stand as a proud co-author of this bill with Representative Whelan. As a hotel owner myself, first thing I saw to this was, because I have been part of a training in the Wilmer Lakes area about 3 years ago that I helped lead from all the hotels in our district and our region. We had every employee, maintenance, front desk, all the owners, the managers, underneath the CVB umbrella, do this training. And in fact, my colleague and friend, Representative Pinto, was on the video that we used and saw. And so I appreciate that. And I was surprised to see my friend, was on that, and he did a great work on that. And our whole community already is trained and ready to go, and we've been seeing signals. And what we have learned from this is that it's okay to call the police department to say, this looks funny. And they have been very good to just let us know. You can call us anytime. We're not going to kick the doors down. We're going to be very, very careful about what we do. But the FBI was part of this, the local county attorney, our Safe Avenues in Wilmer, and they did a terrific job teaching in 3 or 4 sessions in our area to teach all of our housekeepers and all the employees, which was just a terrific show of support. So I'm so glad you brought it to the floor. This is a good bill. I know it's another thing that, as an operator, we need to do, but it's the right thing to do. And sometimes, members, we got to do what is right. And this is the right thing to do. So I really applaud you, and I'm happy to have helped you with this. I'm also happy the Minnesota Lodging Association is fully behind this as well. So, members, please vote green on this.
Call upon the author of the bill from Anoka, Representative Whelan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm just humbled by the support and the collaborative effort that this was. This was not about me, Representative Pinto, Representative Baker, so many others have really come together on this bill, and it just warms my heart. So to the general public, we do know how to work together. I will say, just in closing, you know, the Minnesota Human Trafficking Task Force notes that human trafficking is a public health, public safety, and human rights violation. It occurs all around the world in communities all the time, including in our own backyard. And so if there's anything we can do to raise awareness, I think we should be doing that, because it just breaks my heart when I think it could be your sister, your daughter, your cousin. It could be somebody you know. And wouldn't you want someone who's on the front lines of this, the hotel workers, to be able to see that person with their head down, shaking, scared, and say, hey, something looks off. I think I'm going to call law enforcement. So members, with that, thank you, and ask for your support.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. Applebaum votes aye. There being 125 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3873. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3873, number 14 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to workers' compensation, the second engrossment.
And Representative Albright, do you wish to offer this amendment?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to offer the amendment and bring that forward onto the bill before I speak to it.
Representative Albright offers the following amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
Albright moves to amend House File number 3873, the second engrossment, as follows. The amendment is coded A18-0925.
Call upon the author of the amendment from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Well, I'll just give you an idea in terms of what's in that DE before we finish up. But it has 4 major provisions. It amends Work Comp Court of Appeals to allow for the assignment of retired judges. It establishes a work comp hospital outpatient fee schedule. It establishes a billing, coding, and dispute resolution process for services provided by an ambulatory surgical center. And finally, members, it establishes a criteria for the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder. That is the contents, and I'm happy to speak in greater measure after we adopt the DE. Thank you.
Discussion to the amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments to the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3873, as amended.
Third reading. Member from Scott, Representative Albright.
Members, on an annual basis, a couple of members from both sides get together, and we represent the WCAC, which was established a number of years ago to bring together the forces of business and labor. I've had the distinct pleasure of working with a colleague within this House, and I call him a friend, Representative Mahoney, on measures over the last several years. And I can't think of a stronger relationship that has produced a good product than before you today. We've heard in a number of instances the concerns raised by many of the members on this floor about the import of making sure that workers who are harmed are taken care of in a timely manner. This bill takes care of that. It also goes one step further, and I would tip my hand to Representative Zerwas, who really called attention to the dire circumstance and the very real concerns that first responders and those that are on the front lines of taking care of our loved ones and ourselves when they are suffering from what they've seen and what they've had to endure. Both labor and industry came together, and they have collaborated on a measure and on provisions that I think will bring greater strength to all Minnesota. So with that, I I'm happy to stand for questions, but I want to thank Representative Mahoney, Representative Zerwas, as well as the Commissioner, and also Labor and Industry for working in a bipartisan collaborative effort that will strengthen Minnesota for a long time to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Discussion to the bill. Member from Ramsey, Representative Mahoney.
It's a good bill. Vote for it.
Member from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Mr. Speaker, members, Representative Albright is correct in that this bill represents a tremendous amount of cooperation and work by all parties involved. For over 2 years, members of this body and throughout the legislature have been working to address the real and severe issue of post-traumatic stress disorder and how it impacts our state's first responders. This was not an easy task. A lot of individuals on both sides of this issue were convinced that this issue, despite 18 months of work comp advisory committee meetings, just wasn't ready. And we just weren't ready to vote. And the issue hadn't been vetted thoroughly enough. And there hadn't been quite enough experts, doctor after doctor after doctor, presenting that post-traumatic stress is a real and serious issue that impacts our first responders. And it is a show of support and solidarity with our police officers, our firefighters, and our paramedics. This body took a unanimous vote and said, no, we must act. And so, members, I think it's fitting that during National Police Week and on Law Enforcement Memorial Day, we act today and we honor the men and women who, when we need help, when we dial 911, when we run away, they rush in. And they do so, members, at a great personal loss. Over a career, a police officer, a firefighter, or a paramedic may see dozens and dozens and dozens of absolute tragedies in a first-hand personal basis. That impact and that toll is life-altering and life-changing. And this chamber stood together and said those individuals deserve our respect and our support. And so on Saturday, the Work Comp Advisory Council Committee meeting, they passed this language unanimously. And so I think a lot of credit needs to be given to representatives from labor, representatives from the business community, and representatives from the Association of Minnesota Counties and the League of Minnesota Cities, which does not sit on the Work Comp Advisory Council, but were instrumental in working this compromise language out. And so know that this bill today will save lives. And this bill today will mean that individuals that need help and support from us will get it. Members, I urge a green vote. That's a great day for our law enforcement and first responders in Minnesota.
Member from Ramsey, Representative Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I was a little flippant before and saying it was a good bill and vote for it. I do mean that it is a good bill and we should vote for it. As many of you in the chamber, many people in the chamber heard, I was a little upset the other night. And I'm going to repeat a little bit of that. The Work Comp Commission takes too long to answer questions that need answers for injured workers. Representative Albright wasn't there in my early career on the committee, but they used to take up to 800 plus days to process a claim for an injured worker, keeping someone that's injured kind of in limbo. And it took almost 3 years, 3 years of negotiating to bring it down to just 400 days, or just under 400 days. An injured worker trying to get back to work, not understanding, not knowing fully well what's going to happen on his or her claim is probably 360 days too long. And Representative Albright and I had a handshake agreement on the outpatient treatment surgeries 2.5 years ago. And they said it wouldn't take more than 3 to 6 months to negotiate the answers to those questions. They got about half of it done in 3 to 6 months. But when someone needs to understand what their surgery is and who's going to pay for it and how they're going to live for an extra 2 years, it's really unacceptable for an injured worker and the employers that are paying into this fund. We are not a cheap work comp state. We should have better services and get those workers back to work for their employers faster. I am shocked that it only took 1.5 years on the PTSD. And I'll take a little credit for blowing up on the House floor to get people's attention. And that's not right. A member of this House, this chamber, whether it's the Senate or the House chamber, shouldn't have to explode and call for all of them to be fired in order to get them to move on something. This is a good bill. This is a really, really good bill with really good stuff in it for injured workers. We took care of the 2-year-old problem that Representative Albright and I started on. We took care of the PTSD that was brought to the commission 1.5 years ago, all in one bill. This is actually going to help injured workers either get well or prevent injuries on the PTSD, which is really, really important. So members, I truly ask you, I hope there is not a red vote on that board. This is some of the best reform we've done in work comp in years. And I want to give a lot of credit, a ton of credit to Representative Albright. I'll take a little I guess I'm the hammer and he's the velvet glove. There you go. So members, it's a really, really good bill. It should be all green. And I hope we put that up there, and thank you for listening and hearing me out.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 2675. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 2675, number 5 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to health. Yep.
Representative Zerwas, do you wish to offer this amendment at this time? The clerk will, Representative Zerwas offers the following amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
Zerwas moves to amend Senate File Number 2675 as follows. The amendment is coded A18-0926.
Call upon the author of the amendment from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. Members, this is the all-payer claims database bill allowing the Department of Health to continue to use the all-payer claims database. The use of the APCD is set to sunset this summer. This bill instituting the House language is what this amendment would do. And the House language, instead of getting rid of the sunset altogether, pushes it out several years.
Discussion to the amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments of the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 2675 as amended.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill as amended. Member from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is the all-payer claims database bill. The APCD is used by the Department of Health to study aggregate, non-identifiable, and non-individualized health data to follow trends in healthcare costs and healthcare delivery across the state. This legislation allows that database to continue being used.
Seeing the member from Olmsted, Representative LeBlanc.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support this bill and urge members to vote for it.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 2685. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 2685, number 6 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to human services.
Call upon the author of the bill from Douglas, Representative Franson, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Senate File 2685 is a bill to exempt both family and center-based child care providers from the positive supports rule, which went into effect in 2015. The rule was created something out of the Jensen settlement, a court settlement related to the mistreatment of adults and disabilities in certain state-operated residential services facilities. But DHS broadened
the scope of the rule to include not only those named state-operated facilities for disabled adults, but to also cover all of DHS licensed facilities that may serve those with disabilities. And this is how childcare came into the mix. Members, by exempting this bill, it allows for those individuals with disabilities to not have a lack of choice in the childcare realm. By keeping this rule, it creates unintended consequences of access versus not having access. The department is possibly going to force providers to have up to 15 hours or so of training to take children with disabilities, and providers, due to the cost, more regulations, more trainings, may end up just saying to that population of individuals that they're not going to take those children. Now, providers would be happy and will follow the IEP plan that is in place for that family, and I think that is reasonable to do so. And so, members, I look forward to what we have to say here in the body.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 2685.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 3310. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 3310, Number 7 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to human services, the second engrossment.
Representative Peterson, is it your intent to offer this amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, it is.
Representative Peterson offers the following amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
Peterson moves to amend Senate File Number 3310, the second engrossment as follows, and the amendment is coded A2.
Call upon the author of the amendment from Dakota, Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. The number of licensed daycare providers in Minnesota has dropped by 30% and has resulted in a child care shortage. We know the importance of quality child care that is affordable for Minnesotans and the reason for this bill. I had the pleasure of serving on the subcommittee on child care access and affordability under Chair Franson and Minority Lead Representative Flanagan. The bill is the result of the work that we did in this committee, as well as working with other stakeholders such as the Department of Human Services, Minnesota Department of Health, and many providers. We heard a lot of testimony and heard a lot about the challenges and some of the reasons why people are closing their doors. Some of the top reasons we heard was there was one, too much regulation. Secondly, there was poor communication between agencies, counties, and the providers. And third, a punitive versus supportive role of government. Senate File 3310 reduces redundant insurance paperwork and brings transparency to state regulations. It clarifies variances for staff qualifications and staff structure. It requires DHS to explain in plain language reasons for denied applications, correctional orders, and conditional licenses. It requires the commissioner to clearly inform child care centers about the rules and any changes.
It eliminates the redundant insurance disclosure by providers and directs the commissioner to meet with providers and counties and report back to the legislature in February of 2019. And as a note, this requirement ends in 2020. The A2 amendment is an author amendment that adopts much of the remaining House language of House File 3403 and is the result of working with all the different stakeholders. It updates the approved safe sleep product language. It clarifies the communication process between DHS and the counties and the providers when there is an investigation, and includes an appeal process, and it clarifies how privacy is protected under current law. This language has been approved by DHS, MDH, Minnesota Child Care Provider Information Network, MMA, Minnesota American Academy of Pediatrics, and many others. And I've heard no opposition from anyone, including the county association. And I'm free to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There is an amendment to the amendment. The clerk, Representative Franson, offers the following amendment to the amendment.
Franson moves to amend the Peterson amendment to Senate File number 3310, the second engrossment, and the amendment to the amendment is coded A3.
Call upon the author of the amendment to the amendment from Douglas, Representative Franson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is a very serious topic. I hope you're all listening. As you know, on Sunday night, a Fox 9 News investigation revealed major fraud in estate programming, which has been corroborated by nearly a dozen government sources. The fraud is suspected of costing Minnesota taxpayers as much as $100 million a year. Millions of government subsidies meant to help low-income families with their child care expenses are being directed to shady daycare centers who provide little to no care. While these daycare centers provide kickbacks to the families who cooperate with their fraudulent activities, the bulk of the money is headed overseas. And some may be used to fund terrorist organizations. According to the Fox 9 News report, it is an open secret that starting a child care center is a license to make money off of the Minnesota taxpayers, and that fraud is so widespread that people buy shares of child care businesses to get a cut of the huge public subsidies that are pouring in. Members, this alone suggests that this fraud has been going on far too long under this administration, right under the nose of DHS. Then last night, in a follow-up report, we learned that a government whistleblower, Scott Stillman, a former manager of the state's digital forensics lab, said he warned upper management at DHS about massive child care fraud more than a year ago. He wrote to DHS in very clear terms saying, "We are working on and overwhelmed by a significant amount of fraud cases involving organized crime, defrauding hundreds of millions of dollars annually in taxpayer monies." We were told again last night that people within the governor's office were told about these concerns 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Members, I am sure, like you and I'm sure that, like I had to pick my jaw up off the floor on Sunday night, are stunned and appalled by the negligence of our state agencies in this manner. Their protection of resources is inadequate, their responses to fraud is slow, and their lips have been sealed. Our taxpayers have seen their money not just wasted, but used in a manner that puts Americans, as well as good and innocent people around the world, in jeopardy. All of this time, there are thousands of families who are waiting on a list to receive child care assistance. Members, I have an amendment that requires DHS, using existing appropriations, of course, to develop and implement training for the counties and private licensing agencies on the identification and prevention of fraud in the Child Care Assistance Program. It's time to bring some integrity back into our public programs, members. My amendment is a first step in ending this fraudulent use of taxpayer dollars and starts to preserve those precious resources for low-income families who need child care assistance. And members, I urge a green vote.
Discussion to the amendment. Member from Hennepin, Representative Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we all should be concerned about incidents of fraud. And we should all be doing everything that we can to ensure that folks have access to the child care assistance that they need. These abuses particularly hurt the families who count on child care assistance for basic economic security. So I encourage us to continue to have legislators, DHS officials, community members all work together to continue to prevent fraud and hold bad actors accountable. We must move forward in order to make child care affordable for all Minnesotans while ensuring accountability. Thank you.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I just wanted to thank the law enforcement community for taking action on this matter. In 2015, Hennepin County Attorney Michael Freeman oversaw 4 arrests for this kind of fraud, and in January of 2017, the third of 3 guilty pleas came in dealing with this issue. So our law enforcement community is engaged and taking action, and I think we all stand together to do whatever we can to prevent fraud in this system.
Discussion. Member from Douglas, Representative Franson. Representative Franson requests a roll call. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Discussion. Seeing no member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I too want to say that I think it's incredibly important that we make sure that the dollars that we can dedicate to families who need affordable child care in fact go to those families. But I just want to push back just a bit on the characterization that was made here about that nothing's been done and so on, because actually Representative Franson, as the chair of the Child Care Committee, I think you would be aware that there has been work done and money put forward to try to help government do a better job of stopping fraudulent activity, which is really hard. Sometimes it's hard to do, but there have been prosecutions, there has been staff hired, and there is really an effort to try to stop any sort of fraud in our child care programs. This is something that really should unite all of us. I don't know, Representative Franson, if this amendment really does anything, because I don't think it hurts anything either. And it's fine to try to provide more training to agencies that to help identify fraud. Everybody, just like we had earlier on this floor, we listened to a bill that had to do with sex trafficking, and we want people to have their eyes and ears open to incidents when bad things might be happening that shouldn't be happening. That's a good thing. Everyone should be supportive of that. But I think that it's also important to note that we have made strides and we will continue. And if you have other ideas, I know that the DFL members would love to work with you to try to tighten up on any fraud that's occurring. And let's find ways to root this out, because we will never have enough money in this state to have $1 of it wasted going to people who should not have it, and especially when it comes to child care that remains so underfunded. There are so many families that need this help, and we know that child care is absolutely essential to families. They can't go to work, and they can't get ahead if they don't have a safe and affordable place to put their child while the parents are working. So this is really important stuff, members, and I urge the members to vote yes on the amendment.
Discussion. I'm sorry, member from Wabasha, Representative Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, members, the discussion is nice, but sometimes actions are better than words. We've been dealing with fraud in the Health and Human Services area here for a number of years. Not only this biennium, last year, but last biennium, in the Health and Human Services bill, we had language that worked to root out and get rid of the Medicaid fraud in this state that the legislative auditor has estimated for a 5-month period for 40% of the population on that public program amounted to somewhere between $115 and $271 million. And we didn't get Democrat support in the conference committee process. We didn't get the governor to support it. And we have people here on the floor, Democrats today, telling us they're with us on this. Well, Democrats, if you're with us on this, put your action where your words are. It hasn't happened in the past. Now, arguably, this child care welfare program could go away and the world would not end. And members, we should really be calling, thank you for bringing this, Representative Franson, but we really should be calling on the governor to put a pause on this program. Governor Dayton, you can pause this program today while we look and figure out what's going on here, while we can bring in a federal investigation into this fraud that's going on right in front of our noses with the people's generosity. Members, words are nice, but we need action too. And Representative Franson brought a piece of action here today. We need a lot more action. And I hope the governor joins us and uses his authority to put a pause on this program that needs to pause for a long time until we take a very deep breath to find out what's going on with abuse of the people's money. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Discussion. Discussion to the amendment to the amendment. A roll call. Oh, member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling. Representative Liebling, I got a blind spot right down the aisle. I'm sorry. The speaker found you, though. So Representative
I know
Liebling.
you do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if Representative Franson would yield to a question.
She will yield. Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Representative Franson, I just heard your colleague over there, Representative Drazkowski, call for ending, or pausing, I should say, pausing this program. And you're the chair of the Child Care Subcommittee, and you understand how important this program is to families, how important it is to child care providers, many of which, as we all know, are having trouble staying in business. I just wanted to hear whether your response to Representative Drazkowski there, who's calling for this program to be at least paused. I don't know what would happen to all these families who are, well, let me just say, I know you know this, Representative Franson, but this program, the Child Care Assistance Program, is helping low-income families go to work. It is helping them do the very thing that we all keep saying we want them to do, which is work, support their families. But the cost of child care is so high that many of them simply would not be able to do that. And I've been out door knocking in my district, and I've had families stop me and say, I want to tell you that child care program the state has helped my family get ahead, and we're off that program now, but thank you for that program. So I want to know whether Representative Franson, who's the chair of this subcommittee, supports the notion that this program should go away.
The member from Douglas, Representative Franson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Liebling, I am not shocked that you're asking me a question today. Welcome it. First off, members, child care assistance is not a charity program that we can be used to have it defrauded and sent halfway across the world for possible nefarious reasons. As for my coworker, Representative Drazkowski, he's entitled to his own opinions, members. Okay, we all have 134 differing viewpoints here in this room. He sees things a little differently. I see things a little differently. That's what makes this body so amazing. We all have our own thoughts, our own opinions, and we come together as one body to make the best decisions that is for our wonderful state of Minnesota. I think it's really interesting that we are talking about fraud, and you are definitely on the side of, we need to make sure there's no fraud. There was an OLA report done, and in that OLA report, it was suggested that there was quite a lot of fraud in the state of Minnesota. And members of your party called it unicorn poop. unicorn poop, that we did not need to address the fraud in our programs, that we were making things up. There's really very little fraud. If there is fraud, there's just not enough money for us to get back into the state tax coffers. And as far as the child care assistance program goes, we need to make sure that it is being used legally. And I would wonder, members of this body, how many families would be legally served with $100 million?
Member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Well, thank you,
On the
Mr.
amendment to the amendment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we are on the amendment to the amendment. And thank you, Representative Franson. Well, I just wanted to make sure that members understand how important this program is. And, we have, Representative Franson, just because Fox did a TV thing doesn't make a problem new, or it doesn't mean that everything they say, the facts they give you are true. But it is true that we have a problem in our child care program, and we've been working on this problem. And there are, the legislature in 2017, and I'm sure you know this, Representative Franson, approved money for 8 new staff to be hired to work on fraud in our child care program. So there are efforts that are going forward, and we all agree. Every member on this floor, I'm sure, agrees that we need to root out all fraud in this program, because as I said before, this money needs to go to these families, because this is a really important issue for families across the state. We need to make sure that more families are reached by this program, not less. And we cannot afford as a state to have $1 wasted that should be going to actually buy child care for families that need it to help them work and get ahead and support their families. So I appreciate the discussion, members, and I support the amendment and urge members to vote for it.
Member from Wright, Representative McDonald, on the amendment to the amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank Representative Franson for bringing this amendment forward. And just a brief comment, it's hard not to get emotional and upset when I hear of this fraud, waste, and abuse. Out in Wright County, I'll often use the government sometimes. Sometimes we do things good. We help a lot of people that need help, the disabled and the elderly. We teach the kids good lessons at school. We, for the most part, do a pretty good job on transportation as well. And I know each and every one of us work very hard, and we have the best interest of the state and the people in our district. But sometimes those who don't believe in the philosophy on the Republican side, we get accused of always profound the waste, fraud, and abuse. We get laughed at. There is so much waste, fraud, and abuse, it's disgusting. It's upsetting. Thank you, Representative Franson, for bringing this to my attention. I didn't get a chance to watch the news. Shame on me for not seeing the news and this money going out, millions of dollars in cash. Supposed to help innocent people, families and children. We should be ashamed of ourselves. Look at Minlars, what a mistake and mishap that is. Minsure, the same thing. Medicaid fraud. Money just thrown out. It's really shameful. It really certainly is. And shame on us, shame on me for not paying better attention and stopping these agencies for not paying attention. Fox News did a story 5 years ago on this. And what have we done about it, Representative Liebling? Doesn't seem like we did anything, doesn't it? Because here it is 5 years later, and we got millions of dollars coming out of our state going down to fund terrorists. We ought to be upset. And it's okay to be upset about it. If we're not upset about it, then you're just complacent with it. That's what it is. Representative Franson, thanks for doing this. I hope we continue to end this fraud, waste, and abuse of millions of our dollars. We work very hard in this state. Some of us work very hard. Single parents raising their family, getting to work, being blocked on the highway to get to work, for Pete's sake. And then to see this money go wasted out. I'm sure every one of you are disgusted with this news report. I hope you are. If you're not, shame on you. Obviously, we're going to support this today, and we got a lot of work ahead of us to end this kind of abuse.
Member from Washington, Representative Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is an issue that is not new. It is not very pleasant to deal with, but it's gotten worse, and we need to look at it. When you have a situation like this come up, you can't look the other way, and you can't make excuses. And Representative Franson brings up a great point, that this money is meant for people who need the help. This is for kids, little kids, to get help so that they can get some care during the day. And if you've got young families, you heard from them every day, you got a couple kids in daycare, do you know what it is? It's a mortgage payment. That's what it is. If you got an infant, maybe a 10-month-old and a 3-year-old, tell me what do you think it costs to put those 2 kids in daycare so that you can go to work? Mom and dad working. So that's a mortgage. And you got health care costs. If you're a mom and dad out trying to work, trying to raise a family, you know what that is? That's another mortgage. So we've got kids in daycare that need help, that need financial assistance. They can't do it. Mom and dad can't do it. So you know what they do? They call up the state, they call up the agency, they say, I qualify, and they get in line. They get in line, and it's a long line. Will Representative Franson yield for a question?
She will yield. Representative Dean.
Representative Franson, how long is that line?
Member from Douglas, Representative Franson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Dean, it can be anywhere from 5,400 to 6,500 families that are on a wait list. And a family can be anywhere from 1 to however many children in that family.
Member from Washington, Representative Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Franson, 5,000 Minnesota families waiting in line. Waiting in line, sometimes for years, to get some help. They go home, after a hard day of work, they turn on the news, and what do they see? They throw up their hands. This is great. This is great. So we put in legislation, Department of Human Services, year after year after year, and what do we hear? 1, we already do this. Hey, we're looking for it. We do this. We've got people on there. We've got this. We're all over this problem. Number 2, we can't do this. It's too hard. There's no way to do it. To put this together feasibly, you can't do it. Number 1, we already do it. Number 2, we can't do it. So today we're going to hear from the administration. I think you're already going to start to hear the talking points. Oh, we did that. We covered it 2 years ago. We got right on that. We went out and hired 6 people. We looked around. We've got it taken care of. We already do it. We can't do it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of people looking the other way. We need to address this. Thank you, Representative Franson, for your work in this committee, and thank you for your work ahead.
Discussion to the amendment. Roll call being requested. Seeing no further. Member from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
To the amendment. The key thing is training. And how many daycare providers have you heard that feel that there's hours and hours of repetitive training, and there's a lot of debate there. But I think the bigger issue is the fact that so many daycare providers feel that the state is not a team player, not a partner, and they get hassled. They spend a lot of time checking up on them, going back and forth. Oh, and 2 floors up in a bathroom, there's a hairpin, there's this and that, you're in violation. How can they be doing that across the board and miss the fraud? It's past time that they are the ones that are required to be trained to do their job and provide the service and prevent the fraud so we can actually help more of our citizens. So the amendment to the amendment puts training where it ought to be, should have been, and hopefully it'll be done soon.
Member from Hennepin, Representative Flanagan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the robust conversation on this, and it sounds like the bipartisan support for this particular amendment. I also think it's important to talk about what has happened so far and the need to continue to build on it. Since its creation in 2011, DHS Office of Inspector General investigations has yielded 8 new staff hired using funding approved by the legislature in 2017, 49 civil investigations completed, 13 centers have been closed related to fraud investigations, CCAP payments have been stopped and referrals made to law enforcement, 6 of 13 cases resulted in felony convictions for fraudulent child care providers, 5 state cases and 1 federal court case resulted in convictions, 2 state criminal complaints have been filed and are pending, more than $4.6 million in restitution has been court-ordered from convicted criminal cases. 8 child care centers have been assessed overpayments due to falsifying attendance records and not documenting care that was provided. And $284,000 in overpayments has been collected to date. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Seeing none, a roll call being requested, the clerk will take the roll on the amendment to the amendment. The clerk will close the roll. There being 126 ayes and 1 nay, the amendment to the amendment is adopted. Members were on the underlying Peterson amendment as amended. Discussion. Discussion to that amendment as amended. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. If there are no further amendments to the desk, the clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3310, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. Discussion to the bill as amended. Member from Dakota, Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Thank you for having a great bipartisan discussion and bipartisan support for this bill. I ask for your green vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 3143. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 3143, number 8 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to human services, the second engrossment.
Call upon the author of the bill from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is the extension of sunset provision for the TBI, and as has been mentioned, a couple of other agencies. We're just putting the sunset provision out till June 29th of 2018. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3143.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. Swedzinski votes aye. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 2991. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 2991, number 9 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to commerce, the third engrossment.
And Representative O'Driscoll, do you wish to offer this amendment?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Representative O'Driscoll offers the following amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
O'Driscoll moves to amend Senate File number 2291, the third engrossment as follows, and the amendment is coded A2.
Call upon the author of the amendment from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll.
Mr. Speaker, I might be able to wrap the amendment and the bill presentation all into one. The underlying bill that the amendment is going to be offered on is a bill that reconstitutes an appraisal advisory board here in the state of Minnesota through the Department of Commerce. This is something that the industry has wanted. It's something that Commerce feels is important, and it's also something that other adjunct industries, if you will, the lending industry, the trades industry, the builders and contractors would like to have a venue in which to talk about common related issues. And the board will be made up of appointed members of the appraisal industry. And because we are coming to the end of the 2018 year, and the governor is the party who's responsible for appointing the members, we want to make sure that since we have a new governor in 2019, that those who would start on the board on September 1st would not have a very short period of time, that we would, if you would, grandfather them in to that appointment because of the odd number of months. And so that's what the amendment does, and that's what the bill does, with one other exception. It does also take into account some possible errors that may have happened in renewing some real estate related licenses, and provides permissive language for the Department of Commerce to review those, and if error was found, that they could reinstate those licenses. Mr. Speaker, that is the amendment, and that is the bill.
Thank you. And members, we will wait to vote on the amendment until all members have received the copy of it. The member from Hennepin, Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm a co-author on this bill. And Representative Driscoll, could you just outline the amendment and the terms for me again, please?
Member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Rosenthal, if the bill is signed by the governor into law, September 1st of 2018 is the first time that the board will be meeting. So the governor will have some appointments, and September, October, November, December would end the first cycle because the appointments follow the office of the governor. And as a result of that, what would happen is you'd have people who might be on for a meeting or two and then term out on that because of the change of authority with the governor. At the end of 2018, a new governor or a new term kicking in, which would drive the next set of appointees. So we felt it was important to be able to address those issues and give those folks on the brand new board the opportunity to be able to serve those odd months as we get this underway. Thank you, Representative Rosenthal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the A2 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. If there are no further amendments at the desk, the clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 2991, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 3569. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 3569, number 10 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to transportation.
Call upon the author of the bill from Lyon, Representative Swedzinski, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, Senate file 3569 is a pretty straightforward bill. It simply extends the current moratorium that is in place, well, actually the moratorium that ended at the end of April on ditch mowing permits and the enforcement of them. There was a lot of conversations within the agriculture and other stakeholder groups about the results of the report that came out of last year's moratorium. That report was due on March 1st of this year, and with the tight timelines with our dates and our cutoff times as far as bills were concerned, it was decided that instead of rushing the possible conclusion of that report and what it would mean as far as statutes, that we would put another year of moratorium on. The department is working on their the product of their stakeholder meetings, and as far as what they're going to be moving forward as far as a permitting process that potentially may exist in the future. And that is why this is important that we move this forward. The department has spoke in favor of this in the Senate committee when it was heard, and I do believe there's an amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Bernardi offers the following amendment. The clerk will report the amendment.
Bernardi moves to amend Senate File number 3569 as follows, and the amendment is coded A18-0928.
Call upon the author of the amendment from Anoka, Representative Bernardi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for this amendment, and I want to thank Representative Swedzinski for working with me and moving forward on this. But I just want to, I know that he's, well, whatever, I'll let him speak for himself. But this is not changing anything in the mowing requirements that is in this bill. It's an and. What this bill does is looks to MnDOT for their leadership to address habitat and wildlife vegetation along our roadways. So we're asking for two things. One is to actually provide maps. We've been told before by MnDOT that they actually have maps from another agency regarding vegetation and those sorts of things. We would like to make those public and the information that can be shared with the public, so we have concrete information that everybody in the public can have access to. The other area is a legislative information to provide to us, information about acres and locations of native habitat for pollinators, mowing, people that are the acres of people that are mowing habitats for pollinators, and also what MnDOT's practices are for the chemical use they use, the pesticides they use, and then also the actual cost and hours of labor involved in the maintenance of our right-of-ways. And this is really important. I don't know if you realize this. In California, our bees in Minnesota are used to actually pollinate the almond trees in California. And then they come back to Minnesota and they come here for their food and staying alive in the fall, those sorts of things. So actually states are importing pollinators because they've lost their pollinators for the need that they have. And remember, a bee is actually considered livestock. And so this is, I've enjoyed working with Representative Swedzinski. This, we can work on it over the interim, and it may not be this vehicle next year that it's attached to, but I think a lot of us in this body want to solve get this information so that we can actually make sure that our pollinators are there for our farmers and they're staying healthy. And one of the things how to do that is to actually have concrete information, and that requires the leadership of our Minnesota Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Member from Lyon, Representative Swedzinski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I just want to thank Representative Bernardi for her passion on this issue, but also her willingness to visit about this particular issue. I think this brings forth a lot of interesting ideas and how to move some things forward potentially in the future. My main concern was just the simplicity of what we're trying to do with the moratorium and the department's position on it and how that could potentially work with it. I do I will work with Representative Bernardi in the interim on issues like this, and I just appreciate her willingness to work on issues that pertain to ditches. Thank you.
Member from Anoka, Representative Bernardi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Swedzinski, I really appreciate that offer to work with me and finding solutions for this. And with that, I withdraw my amendment today. Thank you.
Representative Bernardi withdraws the amendment. Representative Bernardi offers the following amendment. The clerk will report Representative Bernardi is not offering that amendment. Okay, if there are no amendments at the desk, the clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3569.
Third reading. Discussion. Member from Nicollet, Representative Johnson C.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Would Representative Swedzinski yield to a question?
He will yield. Representative Johnson C.
Thank you. Representative, I was impressed. I was able to attend a meeting of the working group last summer and also a public meeting, and I found both of them to be interesting and informative. I learned a lot, and I think Minnesota's learning a lot. Can you update me on the status of the working group moving forward?
Member from Lyon, Representative Swedzinski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Johnson, it's my belief that that working group is, I'm not sure exactly how many more meetings or if they're going to be meeting in the future, but you know, I know there has been some frustration by some members of that group, kind of on the representation. There was ag groups involved in that group appointed by the governor. There was only one member of that group of 25 that actually was in the business of cutting ditches, and so that led to some frustration within the agriculture community and just how things turned out. But as far as their current meeting schedule and if they're going to be meeting, I'm not positive of that.
Member from Nicollet, Representative Johnson C.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks for the answer. I was impressed with the work of the group. They were a hard-working bunch, and likewise, the group that came before the public the night before really offered for an interesting dialogue, and it reminded me of how surprisingly complex ditch mowing is in Minnesota. If you're not involved with this a lot, it sounds, well, this should be fairly simple. Well, this is one of those that isn't so simple and really merits and needs Minnesotans talking together and continuing the dialogue, but figuring out how to handle this in a way that works for everybody. It's hard to reach that consensus, reach that compromise, but it's my hope that we can do that. And consequently, I'm strongly in support of this bill, because this bill enables the process to move forward. I think the moratorium makes good sense. We need another year to work on it, and I wish my very best wishes to everybody working on it. If we can achieve a compromise on this, I think it would be really good for Minnesota and a sign of how Minnesotans can work well together. Thank you very much.
Discussion. Member from Polk, Representative Anderson P.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker and members, and I too support this bill by Representative Swedzinski. This has been a rather contentious topic out in greater Minnesota, and as Representative Johnson said, surprisingly so, that we just can't quite seem to reach agreement. So taking another year, getting it done right, I think is the right way to go on this. I support the bill as well.
Discussion. Member from Wabasha, Representative Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I've worked on this issue too. Did attend one of the stakeholder meetings, and you know, I find it interesting, and we need to think about it in the future. And Representative Swedzinski, thank you for your bill. I think it helps us at least in the interim here, but we need to figure out what the primary objective of our roadways are. Now, when we look at the Minnesota Department of Transportation, their objectives are stated objectives in their mission statement are to move people and move them safely. Members, the more critters we put on the edge of the roadways, the more dangerous it gets. And so we have programs called Towards Zero Deaths. We're paying money for the Department of Transportation to help make our roadways safer and help move people safer. And we have been contemplating around this issue policies that will actually make it more dangerous. So members, as we move forward with this issue, I hope we can find some way to codify that mission statement that MnDOT has in law. and bring it full circle to realize that our roadways are a place to move people safely. It's not a place for the body repair people to get rich, and it's not a place for people to get hurt. It's a place for people to move safely. And if people want to grow bees and butterflies and birds, there's lots and lots and lots of space well beyond the 2 or 3 steps out of the car off of the road. As a matter of fact, we buy 6 to 10 to 11 to 12,000 acres of land that comes from the private sector and is turned into government land each year. So I think we need to offer to those people who want to grow the birds and bees and butterflies and offer them the ability to grow them on the thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of state land that the taxpayers are forced to purchase each and every year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Members, please vote. The clerk will close the roll. Hortman switches from aye to nay. There being 109 yeas and 18 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 2683. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 2683, number 11 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to human services, the third engrossment.
I call upon the author from Scott, Representative Albright, to present this bill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, currently state law regarding background studies for child care facilities includes an individual 13 or older who lives in a facility in the definition of a child care staff person. And so the legislation before you rectifies that, and it prevents minors who live in a home child care facility from being fingerprinted as part of a background study unless DHS has reasonable cause to require a national criminal history background check or are employed by the provider or supervised children in the program. With that, members, I urge a green vote.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 2683.
Third reading. Member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I support this bill. I think this is a good compromise. Somebody who has child care in their home and has a child, a young child, it just doesn't make sense to make them jump through all these hoops. And I think that it may be an impediment to some people who want to have child care in their home. So appreciate the bill and urge members to support it.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The final bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 3102. The clerk will report the bill. Oh, no, it's not the final bill. There will be no booing of the presiding officer. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File Number 3102, number 12 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to health, the first engrossment.
Call upon the author of the bill from Olmsted, Representative Quam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. And Ebola. Around 4 years ago, we heard that word a lot. That's when I started working on trying to get Minnesota better prepared, because we all saw a couple of states, it was obviously they were caught off guard and weren't prepared. They had people that were not coming forward, fighting, being put under quarantine. There are a lot of issues out there. And that wasn't a good time during a crisis to try and address it. Now, fortunately, we're not under a crisis. The department came forward with a simple bill, which basically says, hey, a parent should be able to stay home and take care of their child that's under quarantine. I know as a parent, I'd have difficulty being effective at work if I was in that situation. And one thing to keep in mind, that in general, you don't need more than one hand to count the number of people that are put under quarantine in the state of Minnesota. It's a very small quantity. But if we don't do it right, a small quantity, small issue could become big. Now, there is an amendment to this bill, and it came from the department and staff in the Senate. I'm not going to offer that amendment, but it talks about the fact that if you are under quarantine, the judge has discretion, but there's nothing in law protecting you from any adverse conditions by not showing up to court. So it'd be common sense to say in a civil case, if you're under quarantine, we don't want you, coming in the courtroom. And at some point in the future, we need to look at that and other issues to be able to do this right, so that if in the future we do have to worry about a major issue, Minnesota's ready. But members and Speaker, this bill is a small step to helping Minnesota be better prepared in case something bad happens. Thank you.
Representative Quam, did I hear you right that you are not offering the amendment? Okay. There are no further amendments to the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3102.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Well, I rise to support the bill. Thank you for carrying this, Representative Quam. This is really important. We don't like to think about communicable diseases, and we tend to think that we're relatively immune to this, but the world has gotten to be a pretty dangerous place with regard to communicable disease. We've seen some real outbreaks around the world, right? Ebola, Zika, some things that we feel a little bit immune from, but having this kind of regulatory framework in place, making sure that if we should have this kind of emergency, we do have these kinds of protections in place to allow the Department of Health to quickly respond and to try to keep these kinds of things from spreading. So thank you, Representative Quam, and I urge members to support the bill.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Next bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 3480. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 3480, number 13 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to health care, the third engrossment.
Call upon the author of the bill from Hennepin, Representative Anderson S., to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, what this bill does, it expands upon the good faith estimate legislation law that we currently have in place. And what it says is that healthcare providers need to provide data to consumers within 10 business days. It makes sure that they have this data so that they can actually use it when they're purchasing care. It's a good price transparency bill, and I'd ask for your support. And I also like to yield to Representative Munson. He has a portion of the bill in here as well.
Member from Blue Earth, Representative Munson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members, and thank you, Representative Anderson, for carrying this bill. The Section 2, which is on page 3 of the bill, it also expands price transparency requirements for providers. Members, this is really an important aspect of reducing the healthcare costs in Minnesota. My wife and I and 2 young girls lost our health insurance because we were outpriced in the market, because the health insurance costs got to be so high in the private market that we just couldn't justify the $24,000 a year in premiums and the $13,000 deductible. So we went without health insurance last year. But when we went to the doctor and asked what things cost, they weren't able to tell us. They said, well, you have insurance, or if you don't, you'll get your bill in a month. That is unacceptable in today's age of people being able to shop for things using prices, going online and trying to find the best price for a service. So this Section 2 of this bill requires that providers post the 25 most frequently billed services at their clinic, including 10 most commonly billed for evaluation and management, and then also the 10 most frequently billed preventative services that they see at their clinic. They have to post these services out in their waiting area along with the cash price or the rack rate that you would pay if you didn't have insurance, as well as the average price for private insurance carriers, as well as the Medicaid and Medicare price, so that you can compare these prices between clinics. It also requires that if they have a website, that this information be on their website. So you as a patient can shop for these expensive preventative services and expensive tests that we all undergo. This is the best way to reduce our health care costs in Minnesota. I urge a green vote. Another section in this bill, line 3.21, prevents a contract between a health plan company and a provider that says the provider can't tell you the prices. This exists today in private contracts between insurance companies and the providers, and further masks the prices for Minnesotans. This bill will prevent that. This will allow people to know what the cost of their health care is, and therefore reducing costs through competition. So I urge a green vote, members. Thank you.
You still have the floor. There are no amendments to the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 3480.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 127 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Announcements by the Speaker.
Announcement by the Speaker. A message from the Senate has been received requesting concurrence by the House to amendments adopted by the Senate to the following House files. House File numbers 2835 and 4003.
Without objection, we will revert to messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3232, an act relating to energy, and the message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. O'Neill moves that the House refuse to concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3232, that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 3 members of the House, and that the House requests that a like committee be appointed by the Senate to confer on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses.
Call upon the author of the motion from Wright, Representative O'Neill.
Yes, that is my motion. Thank you.
Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 2746, an act relating to health. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Zerwas moved that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 2746, and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
Call upon the author of the motion from Sherburne, Representative Zerwas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House File 2746 is the emergency prescription glasses bill. In the Senate, they added language with advanced practice nurses, allowing for some signature provisions. This bill went through committee in the House, but was not calendared for a floor vote. I would urge a yes vote to concur with the Senate.
Is there any discussion on these Senate amendments? Member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
So members may remember the discussion on this bill when it went out. The part that was added by the Senate I don't think is controversial. It's kind of, you could even really characterize it as cleanup language coming from when we changed the scope of practice of advanced practice registered nurses. So I don't have any problem with that part of the bill. Some members were, if you may recall, the discussion on this bill had to do with that it was good for some professions, and the physician assistants weren't happy with it because it took away some of what they had been allowed to do. But I'm just guessing that APRNs probably now like the bill quite a bit. So members will have to make their decision based on that.
Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion to concur with the Senate amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its 3rd reading as amended by the Senate.
3rd reading, House File Number 2746, as amended by the Senate.
3rd reading. Discussion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. Pawlowski votes aye. There being 128 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is repassed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which the amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3548, an act relating to transportation. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Miller moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3548, and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the author, Representative Miller, who will explain the Senate amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is the expanded truck hours for farm trucks that we discussed a few weeks back that extends it from 9 months to throughout the year. Went over to the Senate and they came back with another thing that's very important for agriculture. And what this allows is basically with sugar beet trucks, when they are transporting unprocessed sugar beets from the out piles to the processing plant, particularly in the spring, these beets are frozen, and sometimes it lets a little bit of water off in the process, and this has been problematic. In the past, we arrived at language that's supported by MnDOT. The state police are okay with this, and I ask for your support as well.
Any discussion on the Senate amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to concur with the Senate amendments, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended by the Senate.
Third reading, House Bill number 3548, as amended by the Senate.
Third reading. Discussion. Discussion to the bill. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 128 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is repassed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to. Announcement by the Speaker.
Announcement by the Speaker. The Speaker announces the appointment of the following members of the House to a conference committee on House Bill number 3232, O'Neill, West, and Bar C.
Member for Morrison, Representative Kresha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move a recess to the call of the chair, approximately 1 hour, and Republican members, we will caucus immediately following recess in the caucus room.
Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. DFL members, we will caucus immediately in our caucus room.
All those in favor of the motion to recess to the call of the chair, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion prevails. The House is in recess to the call of the chair.